Welcome everybody to our Discover a Debut Author series today, which is about helping you discover your next great read by connecting you with an exciting new voice in fiction. Today, I'm joined by debut author Zahid Gamieldien to talk about his debut novel, All the Missing Children. All the Missing Children is a literary horror novel that explores the effects that the disappearance of two children have on the characters around them that are increasingly disconnected from their lives. Gripping, creepy, otherworldly, they're some of the words that have been used to describe the novel, which has been pitched for fans of Stephen King. Zahid is an author, screenwriter, and editor, and his short fiction has been published in several literary journals, including Overland, Mianjin, Kill Your Darlings, and Island Magazine. So let's hear more about the novel. Welcome, Zahid.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So can you tell us about the book?
Well, as you said, it's a literary mystery drama with creeping supernatural elements. It's in 5 parts, and it's about the effect that the enigmatic presence and mysterious disappearance of two children has on various characters. We start with a character that's pretty close to the children, their put upon mother, who's just trying to cope with them being in their lives. Then we move to a suspended detective who's obsessed with a vexing cold case. We go further afield and take in the perspective of a recovering heroin addict who's trying to avoid a violent end. And then we move to a widow who's moved on to an isolated farm to mourn the death of her husband. And while this is going on, we're taking in various genres, but the creeping supernatural elements become more and more pronounced until they overwhelm the text. And that prepares us for the final part where we take in the perspectives of the missing children on the afternoon of their disappearance. And that's a pretty bittersweet ending that has hopefully melancholy and hope built into it.
Wow, it sounds like such an interesting combination of themes that you deal with there. So where did the inspiration for your book come from?
Well, I guess the initial spark was something personal. When I came up with the idea, my wife and I were thinking about having children. So the idea of children being present or absent or potentially present in our lives was something that was on my mind. At the same time, there were a lot of high profile missing children cases that were in the news at the time. So I had this thought about the effect that that would have on the families and people close to the children. But not only that, I thought about the way that the missing children haunted the public consciousness and was always in the news and was on the fringes of people's minds at the time. And then I think there are the kind of general things that go into writing a novel, like what you want to achieve. Like I wanted to write something that was literary, but that had um, horror elements and that also had social drama elements. Something that was politically interesting and also psychologically complex, and something that also entertained people, but gave them an emotional and intellectual experience as well.
Wow. So you mentioned there the social drama element, and I know you're a screenwriter as well. When you were writing the novel, did you have that in the back of your mind? Were you kind of visualizing the novel at the same time for a different screen?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was writing it, I was thinking about what it would look like as a sort of cinematic experience. But at the same time, there are things that I think you can only achieve in literature. The main thing being interiority. So I wanted to delve into the psyches of the different characters and show how they made decisions and what sorts of decisions and processes of rationalization they went through. But I also did want to have gripping set pieces that people can read and enjoy at the same time. So I had it in mind both as a novel and as something that could be produced or made into a TV show or a film. And actually, it has been optioned to be made into a TV show, and that process is ongoing.
How exciting. It sounds like it's going to be a very entertaining show as well as a very gripping novel. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about, the novel explores the theme of human frailty. And you mentioned some of the characters, you know, the struggling mother trying to cope, a recovering addict. And there was a particular line in the novel where one of the characters, Eileen, the struggling mother, her boss asks her, "Do you deserve help?" And I thought that was a really interesting concept that you brought there that highlights the frailty of those people and their failings. How did you come up with the different characters and the ways that they represent the failings of the human condition?
Well, I think the first thing I really thought about was how we can gain compassion for people who are in precarious situations and make decisions that make those situations worse. Because there are a lot of people who might be going through difficult circumstances, and you look at them from the outside and you go, well, why would they do that? That's just going to compound their situation. And I wanted to generate compassion and empathy for those people. And I also wanted to juxtapose that with the ways that people who have privilege can make bad decisions and not be quite as punished, not be punished quite as much for those decisions. And to prompt people to think about the situation psychologically and politically, I suppose. Um, as for the range of characters, part of it was drawing characters from different walks of life. So, you know, we do have someone who's a working class sole carer of their children. We have kind of middle class detective who's going about his business. We have a recovering heroin addict who's obviously um, living with his mother and caring for her, and then we have a somewhat privileged city lawyer who's retired onto a country farm. So drawing these characters from different backgrounds was one thing I definitely wanted to do, and that goes for class as well as race, I think, because uh, that's something I wanted to explore, the ways in which class and race intersect with the decisions that people make to place them in a particular position within society, and to help readers understand that position and empathize with those particular characters.
Well, I think there's definitely a lot to think about there. And I can definitely see All the Missing Children being a really popular book club read for book clubbers who would love to have, you know, really in-depth discussions about all of what you've talked about there. So I just wanted to finish talking about your writing process, because obviously this is a debut novel for you. And there's probably a lot of emerging writers out there who are interested in your path to publication. So you were awarded a grant from Create New South Wales to write the novel as well. So can you talk us about your writing, talk us through your writing journey there?
I sort of took a more traditional path to writing. I've published a lot of short stories, and
Mhm,
I tried to use short stories to hone my craft and improve myself as a writer. Um, and I've always really just loved short stories on top of
mhm,
that. So
mhm,
one of the reasons behind the structure for the novel is that I really love short stories, and I thought the transition would be easier if I wrote the novel in parts.
mhm.
Actually, that turned out not to be the case at all, because it
Yeah.
made things a lot more complicated with different perspectives and intersecting plot lines. But that was part of my journey there. I also thought that I did a residency at Varuna House at one point, which
Mhm,
I found really valuable in meeting other writers and just getting time to write. And then I applied for a grant for Create New South Wales, which I was lucky to get, and that gave me a bit of you know, financial freedom to focus
mhm,
on the novel a little bit more. And uh, I'm very grateful to have received that, and thankfully I've received a grant to write my second novel. And I think anyone who is writing something, it would be good to apply for grants and
mhm.
residencies and things like that. And it would also be useful to get a publication record up behind you, because I think it makes the path to publication a little bit easier.
Thank you, and congratulations again on the your novel. All the Missing Children is out now, so you can request a copy from the library today. And you mentioned you're working on your next novel. So when can we expect to see that one out?
Well, I'm due to deliver it in about 12 months' time, but I'm a little behind with my times because I've got two young children. One's 4 and one is 18 months, and that eats into your writing time a little bit. But I'm hopeful of delivering that within the next 12 months. And as I said, the All the Missing Children's been optioned as a TV series, so
Mm.
I'm working on that at the moment as well. Um, and the next novel is probably also going to play with genre and have some supernatural elements, but maybe be a bit weird.
Well, I'm sure I'll be looking forward to seeing that one come out. And so you can request a copy of All the Missing Children from the library. So thank you, Zahid, for joining us today. And for everybody listening, there are so many more reasons why us readers should be supporting the journey of a debut author. It helps us read outside of our comfort zone, gets a new perspective, and it also helps the industry by continuing to foster literary talent in Australia. So, step outside of your comfort zone and try a new debut author today. So, and maybe All the Missing Children is your next favorite read. So, thank you again, Zahid, and
Thank you.
thanks for joining us.
Brilliant.